producing an obscuration, and that in lunar eclipses the luminaries are in opposition to each other. But it must be remembered that the position of the Sun, as based on an inexistent advance of 1 degree per day, has no connection whatever with true circumstances, and therefore the conclusions which have been drawn from this are false from the very beginning, in both cases of solar and lunar eclipses. We are also told in this respect that the black disk of the moon advances on the Sun, and then recedes. But the moon is never retrograde. Why should it become so now and again for a few minutes just for the purpose of an eclipse of the Sun? Further, the moon is not an opaque body, and moreover, as it moves on the vault of heaven, on the same surface as the Sun, it cannot possibly pass between the latter and the Earth. Eclipses are not caused either, as it might be inferred at first, by a partial or total temporary extinction of the projector center, thus provoking an interruption of luminosity on a corresponding surface of the projected disk. Since the latter is extant behind the shadow, its circumference remaining visible throughout the whole duration of the obscuration. For the author, eclipses are due to an optical effect obtained by a modification in the slant of the vault of the sky, thus determining an inclination of the disk. It can be readily understood that the convexity of the vault confers an apparent volume to the transparent disk, thus giving it an optical thickness, and it is just the reason why the Sun has been compared to a lens. Therefore, following an inclination of the vault by the disk, a shadow could be cast in the latter by its own edge, as there is no doubt that eclipses are self-induced, i.e. that the Sun and the Moon cause their own eclipses, seeing that the obscuration occurs strictly within the limits of their circumference. As the luminous disk moves on, the optical circumstances being restored, the shadow is gradually eliminated. It is possible to effect an exact reconstitution of an eclipse by means of an ordinary magnifying glass representing the disk. It can be seen by holding this magnifying glass vertically and moving it slowly forward in the manner of the movement of the satellites that, by giving it a slight inclination, a shadow similar to that of an eclipse is cast in the interior of the magnifying glass by its edge, and without the interposition of any opaque obstacle. There exists further an evident and important feature which has been overlooked so far concerning the position of the other satellites of the Earth during eclipses. It can be readily observed that during these manifestations, certain zones of the vault are simultaneously aspected by the other satellites. The degrees in question are the 28th of Sagittarius, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th of Capricorn, the 14th through the 17th and the 21st of Virgo, and of Aquarius. There cannot be an eclipse of the Sun or the Moon on any one date without these degrees being simultaneously aspected by the other satellites, and it appears, consequently, that the combined influences of certain parts of the vault of the sky, which become sensitive by the passage of the satellite disks, contribute to the formation of eclipses. The correspondences between the longitudes of the disks and the true position of the Sun or Moon during eclipses should be systematically investigated in order to discover the connection. It may, however, be regarded as certain that eclipses are not due to any intercalary passages taking place between the Sun, the Moon, and the Earth, nor to any shadow cast by the latter. The fact that eclipses of the Sun occur in certain conditions at the time of the new moon must be regarded merely as coincidences between the cycle of solar eclipses. The periodicity of the moon and the movement of an X-point of the wheel of constellations, which in this work is held to be an immaterial structure supporting the luminous manifestations called stars. It is this X-point of the wheel of constellations which, moving with it at the speed of 1 degree per day, should replace the Sun, which is supposed to move at this speed. It should be added that not only eclipses but also luminous manifestations as well as atmospheric and geological phenomena such as comets, flying saucers, falls of meteorites, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, inundations, tornadoes, and even thunderstorms, rain, and snow are always systematically accompanied by aspects formed by the satellite disks of the Earth with certain fixed degrees. It may be easily checked, for instance, that earthquakes only occur when there are simultaneous aspects within the 8th degree of Aries, the 10th of Capricorn, the 29th of Sagittarius, and the 2nd of Aquarius. This point would then pass in close conjunction with one of the lunar nodes at the time of the new moon. These coincidences permit effectively to calculate solar eclipses, but do not determine them. Natural manifestations should not necessarily be confused with their own causes, nor regarded as such. Chapter 9. On the stars. There are definitely no solid bodies between the Earth and the dome of the sky. Stars are not masses of matter, and they do not result either from projections like the satellite disks of the Earth. Xenophanes, or Xenophanes, in the 6th century BC, thought that the humid exhalations of the Earth contained latent sparks which, after some sort of condensation, formed the stars, and this explanation appears to be acceptable. The astronomers of ancient Egypt believed also that the stars were suspended from the dome of the sky by cables like lamps, and the fact is that on very clear nights, filaments or lines connecting the stars of each constellation can be clearly distinguished. From this we may conclude that there exists above the Earth a network of ethereal cords, certain parts of which, particularly at the intersections, condense and retain permanently the radioactive emanations from the Earth, thus constituting the stars. This does not exclude the possibility of any effects resulting from the influence of the dome of the sky or from the presence of the sun during the days. It is also evident, since all the constellations are seen to move in bulk, that it is the frame or structure acting as their support which revolves and carries them along. It could further be surmised that this stellar network above the Earth is, at intervals, subjected to phases of tension and relaxation, which would have the effect of enlarging or reducing the size of interstellar spaces, and also that the volume of the Earth's radioactive emanations varies according to seasons or other causes, therefore increasing or diminishing the luminosity and the number of the stars. The stars are thus nearer the Earth than the satellite disks which move on the vault of the sky, and this fact is in accordance with the theory of both Anaximander or Parmenides. Concerning supposed occultations of the stars by the moon, it can be said that it is not necessary that the latter should pass in front of a star to render it momentarily invisible, since the same result is achieved if the moon, the brighter light of which causes the disappearance of the star, passes at the back of it. When we speak of a stellar network or system, it is self-evident that there are two such networks, one over each half of the Earth, which possess different signs and constellations and meet over the equator. It can be observed that the constellations make a complete circle of that part of the heavens in which they are situated in 1 year, which is equivalent to an approximate speed of 1 degree per day. And it is this advancing motion of the constellations of 1 degree per day which for some incomprehensible reason has been attributed to the sun. In our regions north of the equator, this movement takes place from west to east, in a direction opposite to that of the satellite disks of the Earth. As to the possible origin of the motion of the stars, this could be determined by a magnet action exercised by the metallic dome of the sky, or perhaps by the passage of the daily and semi-annual cosmic breath streams. It has been said that there exists a regular retrogression of the constellations of 50 seconds of degree per year, and that this movement was first noticed by Hipparchus in the 2nd century BC, when comparing his notes with those which another observer, Timocrates by name, had made 1.5 centuries beforehand. It would be necessary in the first place to know whether the calculations these two investigators made at an interval of 150 years are correct, and whether they must be accepted, which is by no means certain. But why, anyhow, has this retrogradation, which was visible and measurable in the time of Hipparchus, been mysteriously transformed through the ages into an invisible retrogradation? A difference of 50 seconds per year is appreciable over a length of time, as it amounts to 1 degree in 72 years, and it should by now, since the 2nd century BC, equal about 30 degrees. It is, however, impossible nowadays to see this considerable difference in longitude, and in the position of the constellations. These always return to the exact spot they occupied in the heavens in the preceding years at a given instant. That is to say that this retrogradation which Hipparchus thought he had discovered does not exist. And if it does, why, considering the importance which is attached to it, doesn't it figure into the official astronomical publications? There is therefore no retrograde motion of the zodiacal signs over each other. Aries, actually presumably occupied by Taurus, is not in Pisces. Pisces is not in Aquarius, and etc. They are still in the same order at the place they occupied in the beginning of time. Further, the theory of the precession of the equinoctial point, which was derived from the supposed retrogradation of the constellations as extended to the sun, cannot be substantiated. Chapter 10. On the precession of the equinoctial point. This theory consists of two erroneous propositions concerning invisible and inexistent movements of the sun, and of a corollary which would be logical if it did not defeat the theory itself. In the first place, the sun, although its motion takes place in the reverse direction, is said to accompany the constellations and to progress with them at a speed of 1 degree per day, and in this way to cross the line of the equator twice a year, on the 21st of March and 22nd of September, at an equal distance from the poles, so that one half of the earth receives the light of the sun, while the other half remains in darkness, circumstance which determines the equinox. And for this reason the point of intersection where the sun is supposed to cross the equator is called the equinoctial point. But where in the first place is the need for the sun to pass on the line of the equator to create the equinox? This equal duration of day and night undoubtedly results from the undisputable fact whereby sunrise occurs exactly 12 hours after sunset. Why give an artificial cause to a circumstance of nature, when the origin of which is as clear as daylight? According to the second proposition, the sun, with the constellations, is said to have a retrograde motion of 50 seconds of a degree per year. We arrive now at the kernel of the theory whereby the sun, retrograding by 50 seconds a year, it follows that the point where it crosses the equator on March 21st and September 22nd also has a yearly retrograde motion, called precession, of an equal number of seconds. But in that case, the conditions required for the equinox cease to exist. It should be pointed out here, first, the theory should really be called precession of the equator. It is the equator which would have a retrograde motion, since it is on its line that the point of intersection crossed by the sun, called equinoctial, is situated. Further, the equal duration of day and night is said in this case to be only possible when the sun is on the line of the equator at an equal distance from the poles, whereby one half of the earth receives the light of the sun and the other remains in obscurity. Therefore, if the line of the equator on which the equinoctial point is situated moves backward, as in the precession, the sun when crossing this point will no longer be at an equal distance from the poles, and neither will have the two halves of the earth be identical, and an equal distribution of light and darkness over the earth would become impossible. This theory defeats its own end. It might also be added, incidentally, that at the moment of the equinoxes, on March 21st and September 22nd, the sun at midday reaches a point in the heavens which is equidistant from the culminating height reached during the summer solstice, and the lowest point attained during the winter solstice. Thus, to be intelligible, the height of the sun should, in the respective hemispheres, be measured on a horizontal line passing through this middle point reached by the sun at the equinox, and not on the line of the equator as is actually done, when for the 6 months from the autumn to the spring equinox, i.e. March 21 to September 22, we find the paradox by which the height of the sun is shown as below the equator at midday. In the scheme of the precession, the sun is said to cross the equator nowadays at the 6th degree of the sign of Pisces, which corresponds to the 24th of February. It should therefore be the equinox on that day, after which the days should normally start on their habitual increase. In the way of nature, however, the equinox invariably takes place 26 days later, on March 21st, the days beginning to grow longer from that date. As this fact obviously upsets the precession theory, it is declared that this annual retrogradation of the equinoctial point, which latter is crossed by the sun in order to form an equinox, which equinox marks the beginning of spring, has no effect on the seasons, and it would also seem on the equinox itself. So one may ask in the end what the object of this riddle is at all, and why should any causes, even if they are invisible as in this case, be assigned to circumstances which fail to materialize. It can thus be seen from the few remarks made above, the theory of the precession of the equinoctial point is an entirely artificial arrangement, which, once unraveled and scrutinized, cannot be taken into account. Chapter 11, on the formation and the age of the Earth. The formation of the Earth has resulted logically from its dislocation from the surrounding mass of matter, which is now the vault of heaven. All the ancient cosmogonies are in agreement on this point. It is stated, for instance, in the Egyptian cosmogony, that the sun rose from the waters and that a shaft of light created a fissure in the mass of matter, which separated the heavens from the earth. I'll read that again. It is stated in the Egyptian cosmogony that the sun rose from the waters and that a shaft of light created a fissure in the mass of matter, which separated the heavens from the earth. It may also be assumed that the weight of the bulk of the waters helped to cause the downfall, or perhaps a succession of vibratory shocks. The dislocation of the earth may not have taken place instantaneously in one block. It must have continued from place to place, sometimes with difficulty, over a period of several years. Hesiod, in his history of the War of the Titans, signifying the mountains against the vault of heaven, has left us a striking picture of what must have been the birth of the earth, or at least one of its phases. He describes the heavens falling from their height and shaking the earth on its base, crushing the bold titans under enormous blocks of burning rock. The terrifying fracas of the thunder, the flashes of lightning, the fire consuming the earth, emitting suffocating vapors, and a blaze could be added the prodigious masses of water falling in cataracts from the depths of heaven onto the earth. Hesiod states that the revolt of the Titans, that is to say the length of time taken by the dislocation, lasted 10 years. It is even probable that for a long time afterwards parts of the vault must have crashed from time to time before its final consolidation. It may be said that mountains did not result from volcanic upheavals, but that they were released in that shape, including summits and peaks, from the depths of heaven. Thus, the mountains of the earth find their counterparts in the valleys of the vault of the sky, and vice versa. In the same way, the deep and wide circular depressions which have been discovered sometimes at very high altitudes, and which are filled with water either from atmospheric condensation or rain, and appear to be lakes, have not been hollowed out, as it is assumed, by the fall of gigantic meteorites, of which no traces can be found, but are indeed natural formations which result from the dislocation in the mounts or circular eminences which exist in the vault and are their counterparts. The megalithic blocks, including the extraordinary specimens found in the Easter Islands, are also natural rock formations, the upper parts of which happen to be freed from or broken off the mass of the vault at the moment of the dislocation, while their lower parts remain buried in the earth. The flat horizontal stones called dolmens, which are laid on vertical stone supports, thus forming tables, have also been released in these particular arrangements from the vault of the sky. The megalithic blocks were never erected by man, nor were they either transported from one place to another. They were, however, fashioned, shaped, and even cemented in situ by the hand of man to serve for religious and burial purposes. Their geometrical and symmetrical disposition is just a fact of nature. The pyramid must have originally been a single block of rock released in that shape from the vault of the sky, since it can be observed that quite a number of mountain summits affect this same shape, and it may have been imitated by the Egyptians in view of its unusual appearance. There has been no addition whatsoever to the layers which constitute the Earth's crust since the beginning. They all date naturally from the dislocation, although volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, and inundations may have caused some upheavals and shifting of the original layers. A transformation of the primary constituent resulting from the action of the vault may have also occurred through the ages, particularly in the case of coal, petrol, ores, and precious stones. The evolution of the Earth was accomplished in several periods of time, of undetermined duration, which correspond to the days of Genesis. But this evolution has always resulted from the influences of the cosmic radiation, such as they are transmitted by the satellite disks of the Earth. These may not either have appeared all at the same time, and their successive formations may have contributed to a large extent to the evolution of the Earth, which, from a certain period, became exteriorized through the appearance of vegetation, animal species, human races, and their various degrees of civilization. It is impossible to speak with certainty of the different ages which have followed the dislocation of the Earth. Neither is it possible to estimate correctly their duration, but certain divisions may be established. In the first place, it may be remarked that the age of the Earth does not run into millions of years. We may in fact consider that once the initial vital impulse was imparted, the Earth's evolution was accomplished in a comparatively short span of time, but that it is rather the separation of our universe from the amorphous chaos, its slow preparation and organization, and also the descent of the cosmic scheme into matter, which must have previously required an infinite length of time. It is stated in Nordic mythology that the Earth floated on the waters during 700 years, but this period of stabilization must have been much longer and taken at least 2,000 years, and even after its final consolidation, the Earth must have been subjected to periodical cataclysms, resulting from seismic shocks and submersion by water, but not volcanic eruptions, since the internal fire of the Earth may only have been in an early smoldering stage at this time. It would be interesting to know in this connection how this fire in the center of the Earth started at the beginning. It may have originated from a spontaneous ignition produced by the impact of burning rocks from heaven, or even lightning. But the fact of its existing in the interior of the Earth may point to a natural slow combustion of matter, in which, however, vegetation could not have played a part. This period of consolidation was followed by a transitional era, It is stated in very early texts that there was no retrogradation at the beginning of time, which means that the satellite disks of the Earth which are subject to this motion had not yet made their appearance in the heavens, and that only the Sun and the Moon existed, since their motion is always direct. The other disks, up to and including Saturn, which all retrograde, may have started to appear successively a few hundred years after the dislocation of the Earth. It is also said that the inclination of the Earth did not exist, and that there were no eclipses. This early transitional period must have lasted a considerable time, and its duration be estimated at about 10,000 years. The next great event in the evolution of the Earth was its inclination. It is said in some Oriental cosmogonies that one of the pillars supporting the Earth collapsed and made it lean in a southwesterly direction, while the heavens were then said to incline towards the northeast. We may consider that such an upheaval did really occur, as several Greek authors have recorded a tradition existing among very ancient people that a tremendous commotion shook the foundations of the Earth at a very remote time. Anaxagoras, who lived in the 5th century BC, was of opinion that the inclination of the Earth was of a fairly recent date, but it must have occurred much earlier than he thought, and could be situated at 7,000 years BC. Taking into consideration the 2,000 years which have elapsed since the Christian era, the actual age of the Earth since the dislocation would be 21,000 years, which means that since the beginning the Sun has risen over 7.5 million times over the Earth, a staggering figure. The age of the substance of the Earth itself, considered as part of the original mass of matter, is evidently impossible to estimate. Anaxagoras also stated that vegetation, animal species, and the human races had already appeared on the Earth before its inclination. Nothing can be presumed, as well may be realized on this question. The creation may have necessitated lengthy periods of time. On the other hand, it is possible that all could have appeared in the space of a few months, depending on the intensity of the creative forces, the effects of the disks, the suitable climatic conditions, and the time of the year. But there must certainly have been numerous cases of spontaneous generation. It may be estimated that the human and animal skeletons called prehistoric, and also the mural art of the cave age men, are not more than 4,000 to 5,000 years old, if they are that. After its inclination, the Earth must have passed through several stages, the exact nature of which is impossible to ascertain, but which are made evident by their repercussion on the progress of civilization in all of its forms, particularly in the religious plane. The beginning of the Christian era, nearly 2,000 years ago, certainly corresponds to a physical evolution of the Earth, and there are actually, however, precursory signs of the advent of a new age, that of atomic energy, which should also be interpreted as another step in the evolution of the Earth itself, and which, like the preceding eras, will bring in its train new reactions in the fields of religion, ideology, culture, science, and human society, the effects of which seem already to be perceptible. The flying saucers, which seem to have recently become habitual features of the heavens, may well relate to the formation at an early stage of new satellite disks of the Earth. As to the end of the world, one of the perils to be faced would be the failure of the disks, particularly the Sun. The strength and solidity of the vault may be held to be absolutely secure. Its downfall upon the Earth should not be anticipated as our forebears used to fear, although the inertia of its surface or the disappearance of its reflecting power would prove calamitous. But barring celestial or geological disasters of any sort, we must realize that all life on the Earth might, and perhaps much sooner than could be expected, be completely wiped out by accident, by the dangerous and powerful energies which are now being released in different parts of the world, especially taking into consideration the relatively small space in which the Earth is confined. Question arises, in the case of total destruction of life, would there be a revival on Earth after a certain interval of time? We might think so, and in the same pattern, since the great creative forces of the vault of heaven are said to be unchangeable, constantly active, and also immortal. If we try to discover the function of the Earth and the universe, the first thing to be noticed is this manifestation of life. The Earth is not a cold mass without any reflexes. There is, firstly, the all-important factor of its internal fire, the incessant activity of which is made evident by volcanic eruptions. There are also other symptoms of animation, such as earthquakes, tides, and winds. It should also be borne in mind that if life in all its forms is extant on the Earth, it is only because it is part and parcel of the living body of the Earth itself. It follows that the only interpretation that could possibly be assigned to the Earth in view of the evidence of life is an organic one, a parallel of which could be found in the human body. If the different parts of the human body and their functions are examined, the most consistent relationship which is immediately apparent is that which exists between the heart and the Earth. In the first place, there are the volcanoes, which represent the apertures through which the blood is assumed to leave the heart and pass into the blood vessels. Furthermore, we have the volcanic eruptions, which correspond to the expulsion of the blood. Another important point of resemblance is the inclination of the Earth towards the left, which reproduces the slant of the heart in this direction. Under the circumstances, the volcanic eruptions and the earthquakes would appear to represent cardiac phenomena and to have a connection with movements of expansion and contraction. The volcanic eruptions, resulting in the expulsion of a certain quantity of fiery matter from the center of the Earth, would correspond to the expansion, and the earthquakes, causing cracks and disturbances on the crust of the Earth, would represent the contraction. It is also almost certain that the loud subterranean rumblings which accompany volcanic eruptions and earthquakes correspond to the sounds which are peculiar to the heart. An objection which could be raised at this point against the analogy which has been established between the heart and the Earth, and has so far been consistent, is in connection with the presence of the circulating element, which is the blood, and is supposed to circulate and pass through the heart. This fact would imply parallel conditions in the case of the Earth, and these conditions do not exist. But the circulation of the blood could be disclaimed, seeing that it cannot be proved, as it is impossible to know exactly what the conditions are in the heart in vivo, and also that the circulation, by means of X-rays, cannot be seen to exist. It would rather appear that the blood is immobilized in the heart, veins and arteries, in the same way as the marrow is enclosed in the bones. And the similarity of the arrangement seems to confirm this view. It should also be considered that it is a material impossibility for 1 3/4 pints of blood to pass every 10 seconds, as it is said, through the heart, which is the size of a man's fist. The speed of the blood, given as 50 centimeters per second, is also difficult to accept. Furthermore, it has been calculated that the speed is reduced to 5 millimeters per second in the capillaries. But, since the volume of the blood which is said to issue from the heart is so constant, it is obvious that if it circulates rapidly when leaving this organ, it cannot continue its assumed circuit at a considerably reduced speed in the capillaries without causing an obstruction resulting in an immediate blockage of circulation. It is also evident that if there is no communication between the two halves of the heart, there cannot be any communication between the capillaries to permit circulation. This points to the existence of two independent and opposite systems, or networks, of blood vessels. The valves, which are found in the veins, have nothing to do with circulating the blood. Their function would be to support the weight of the venous blood, which is heavy, and to keep it in place, particularly if the body is erect. The ancient Greek physicians thought that a kind of subtle air, or spirit, was transported by the blood in the arteries and veins, and it could be added that this subtle air may correspond to the cosmic breath streams mentioned previously, the breath of day in the arteries and the night breath in the veins. Consequently, once the obstacle of the supposed circulation of the blood is removed, the analogy between the heart and the Earth appears to be complete. Taking into consideration the fact that this analogy is only an assumption, and also that the preceding remarks are only brought forward for the purpose of endeavoring to support the same. Chapter 13. Is the Earth the heart of a gigantic man-world? It has been said that the universe is an organic body, exactly like the human body, and that the interior, that is the hollow part of the body of man, is and should be interpreted as the space between the stars and the Earth. We have also previously seen in this connection that there appears to be an analogy between the Earth and the heart. Not only do they form and are formulated by the same letters in a different order, we may further consider the text of the first chapter of Genesis, according to which Jehovah took one of Adam's ribs and made it into a woman. This does not mean that the female human body was evolved from a supplementary bone of the males, but refers to the creation of the earth, the name of which is Eve, such as it became detached from the principal mass of matter, Adam, which means man, in the neighborhood of the thorax, which is formed by the ribs. Eve handing an apple to a man and inviting him to eat it is merely the symbol of the earth feeding humanity. The serpent is the representation of a hunger which tempts man to take food, and is further a representation of the spinal column and of man's chakra, points. Thus, the Earth may well be the heart of a gigantic man-world, possessing the characteristics of the human body, which is the universal prototype, and which would be composed of the same elements as the Earth itself, i.e. the substance of the Earth proper, as well as minerals, metal, stones, and rocks, and would also contain water, as reference is often made in ancient cosmogonies to the superior waters which exist on the other side of the vault of heaven. On the other hand, air and fire might be particular to the Earth. It is possible to calculate the height of the man-world, which would shelter the Earth, since the circumference of the latter, which is to be taken now as a flat expanse, is said to be 39,840 kilometers, and that the dimension of the heart is approximately 1/13 of that of the body, and this would give us the figure of 517,920 kilometers, which, after all, does not seem so absolutely inconceivable compared to the immensities to which we have recently been accustomed. Finally, one must confess that the intelligence of man will forever be defeated by the problems of the reason of the existence of the cosmos, of its shape and the method of organization, its probable magnitude, antiquity, and duration, and particularly its mode of support. Logic and imagination remain powerless in defiance of these unfathomable mysteries. 1938 to 1956. Heaven and Earth by Gabrielle Henriette.
So where is the edge?
Who's to say that there is an edge, and why assume there is one? Is it because when we are introduced to the idea of a flat Earth, it's always depicted like this? In the currently most accepted model, Antarctica is not a continent, but a 360-degree landmass made up of ice that holds the oceans within. When we look at a Gleason's map from 1892 that states at the top that it's scientifically and practically correct, as is. We see this Antarctic ice rim. The Gleason's map is basically an azimuthal equidistant projection, which can be traced back to the year 1000. The AE map is also an official map of the United States Geological Survey, the USGS, and the official logo for the United Nations. The oldest known globe in the world is from 1492. This is something you need to keep in mind because many people argue that the azimuthal equidistant map is just a flattened out version of the globe, when in fact the globe is just a rounded version of this true world flat map. If the flat map came first and it has the ability to convert into a globe without any problems whatsoever, then that should tell you a little bit about how this globe deception was achieved. Now, back to if there is an edge or not. There is no proof that there is an edge past the Antarctic ice wall, but it is speculated by many that perhaps the plane that we live on is either extremely expansive or it's possibly endless. In these two scenarios, it would be logically assumed that more land is being hidden from the general public. In a 1954 interview with Admiral Richard E. Byrd, an American naval officer who specialized in exploration, he had this to say.
But strangely enough, there is left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole, on the other side of the South Pole, from Middle America. And I think it's quite astonishing that there should be an area as big as that unexplored.
Implying that there is more land past Antarctica. If that uninhabited land was on a globe, it would be in the Indian Ocean. A recent discovery of an old Buddhist map in a newspaper from 1907 seems to support the idea of a vast plain with much more land.
Where does the sun go if the Earth is flat?
Well, the sun neither rises nor sets, but travels in a clockwise circuit from east to west, and only appears to rise and set due to perspective. The sun disappears at the vanishing point of human perspective on the horizon where the ground meets the sky, and since the sun is not 93 million miles away, I repeat, not 93 million miles away, but much closer and smaller, the light emanating from the sun only illuminates about half of the flat plane at once as it makes its daily journey.
What's underneath the flat Earth?
This is obviously an unanswerable question since the assumed edge has never been known to be reached, but many people suppose that whether the Earth is round or flat, that either way, it still must be floating in the middle of outer space. But the idea of outer space goes out the window with the round Earth theory. Many religious texts support an immovable Earth that has its foundations on which it is laid, and its pillars by which it is supported. We simply don't know, but we do know that the Earth is obviously fixed in place, as we can tell by our everyday experience of non-movement. What we see in the skies above are illuminated objects making circles around us just as it appears. Whatever this place may be, it's the center of all we survey. Some say that the Earth is the floor of the universe. In the ancient Hebrew conception of the universe, we are surrounded by the waters above and the waters below, known as the Great Deep. The deepest hole ever drilled into the Earth was a total of about 7.5 miles. The very core of the Earth is nothing more than wild speculation, if not another malicious lie. So what's under the Earth? That remains a mystery to us all. But another thing that you can research is what's inside the Earth. Multi-billion-dollar deep underground military bases known as DUMBs, D-U-M-Bs, right?
What about ships and boats disappearing over the horizon?
This is also due to human perspective. They don't go over the horizon, they go into the horizon, moving beyond the limit of our vision and past the vanishing point. But the ships and boats are easily brought back into view with a pair of binoculars, a telescope, and any camera with a good zoom lens. A great question to ask yourself is why can't we see noticeable curvature from 120,000 feet up? but many people claim that the supposed curvature can be seen from the ground by watching boats. It doesn't make sense.
And what about all of the pictures of the Earth?
They are all clearly computer-generated images. They claim this picture from Apollo 17 in 1972 is real, and they also claim that the 2015 Epic Earth picture is real. But NASA employee Robert Simon gave us a glimpse of how they do it when he shared his experience of creating the Blue Marble 2.0 in 2002. He is now called Mr. Blue Marble. He was interviewed and on record stating, "The last time anyone took a photograph from above low Earth orbit that showed an entire hemisphere, one side of the globe, was in 1972 during Apollo 17. NASA's Earth Observing System, EOS, satellites were designed to give a checkup of Earth's health. By 2002, we finally had enough data to make a snapshot of the entire Earth, so we did."
In 2002, Blue Marble 2.0, NASA's Rob Simon made this. Simon's job is...
It's primarily taking data and making pictures out of it.
That's what this is, a composite of data sets from several different instruments translated into a picture.
So we actually had to take clouds out.
They stashed the clouds for later, went onto the ocean. That came from an instrument that measures phytoplankton in the sea.
Where it was low, I colored it dark blue because they're low mostly in mid-oceans. And then where it's a little bit higher, it was like a little bit brighter green.
Then add the clouds back in.
There's a small problem with it because there's a very slight gap in between each orbit.
So some of those are painted on.
It is photoshopped, but it's has to be.
Then
there was another layer to sort of simulate the atmosphere.
And then there's this little bright spot.
It's called the specular highlight. So it's the reflection of sunlight off of water.
Those are the pieces, but you can't just slap them all together.
It just didn't look realistic. It looks kind of flat, or the clouds are sort of too see-through. So I just take Command Z a lot.
There's artistry to creating the world.
What I imagine it to be. Unfortunately, I'm not an astronaut. I've never been to space. But I've looked at these images over and over again, trying to sort of get the essence of it. It is photoshopped, but it's has to be. It is photoshopped, but it's has to be. It is photoshopped, but it's has to be. It is photoshopped, but it's has to be.
Why are all the other planets round then?
When you compare amateur footage done with professional grade cameras and compare it to NASA's official images of planets and stars, it's clear that NASA images are all computer generated, no different than the photos of Earth. What have become known as planets are round lights that seem to be set over the flat Earth. The so-called planets and stars are not what we have been told they are, and comparing luminous objects that you see in the sky to the Earth under your feet is very ineffective for actually proving the supposed rotundity of the Earth. Since there are no actual photographs of the Earth and motion has never been experienced or proven, it would seem more logical for one to assume that we are on a flat, motionless plane and everything we see in the heavens revolves around us.
What about satellites and GPS?
As crazy as it may sound, satellites are a hoax. Have you ever wondered why there are never any damaged or fallen satellites? And why there are no satellite malfunctions due to constant heating and cooling? It's weird they don't melt in the thermosphere that's over 2,000 degrees. I find myself looking at the moon and wondering why we never see satellites pass by the moon. Did you know there are thousands of miles of fiber optic cables under the seabed that supplies 90% of the Earth's communication, internet, phones, etc.? And GPS works off of cell phone towers. It's called triangulation. Haven't you seen those really tall towers and wondered what they are? Satellite TV is just enhanced radio using ground-based towers. It's all ground-based, just like the old TV antenna. Science fiction author Arthur C. Clarke proposed the idea of geostationary satellites in 1945 in a magazine called Wireless World. And 20 years later, in 1965, they claim to have successfully launched the first commercial geostationary communication satellite. Today, there are said to be thousands, but the odd thing is that trying to prove it only leaves you fruitless.
Is outer space even real?
Yes and no. What you see in the sky as far as stars and wandering stars, also known as planets, are there. How could we deny them? We don't know what they actually are, but they are there. Now, what we are told about outer space and what it is not true at all. Everything we believe about so-called outer space is due mostly to Hollywood movies and other media, including children's cartoons. Of course, NASA propaganda is the biggest culprit. As we have already gone over, there are no pictures of Earth, and even images of all the other so-called planets are computer-generated. NASA has gone on record numerous times stating that humans can't get past low Earth orbit.
NASA's next spacecraft, already being built and tested across America, will do those things and more.
This is the spacecraft that's going to take humans to explore the solar system. It's the next big step for NASA in exploration.
Called the Orion Multipurpose Crew Vehicle, or MPCV, this next-generation spacecraft will enable America to explore beyond low Earth orbit.
As we get further away from Earth, we'll pass through the Van Allen belts, an area of dangerous radiation. But Orion has protection. Shielding will be put to the test as the vehicle cuts through the waves of radiation. Sensors aboard will record radiation levels for scientists to study. We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space.
Plan that NASA has is to build a rocket called SLS, which is a heavy lift rocket. It's something that is much bigger than what we have today, and it will be able to launch the Orion capsule with humans on board, as well as landers or other components to destinations beyond Earth orbit. Right now, we only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go. And this new system that we're building is going to allow us to go beyond and hopefully take humans into the solar system to explore. So the moon, Mars, asteroids, there's a lot of destinations that we could go to, and we're building these building block components in order to allow us to do that eventually.
And unlike the previous program, we are setting a course with specific and achievable milestones. Early in the next decade, a set of crewed flights will test and prove the systems required for exploration beyond low Earth orbit.
Low Earth orbit is supposedly between 99 and 1,200 miles away. The funny thing is that they say the moon is over 200,000 miles away. How did we make it so far in the 1960s and 70s if we can't do it today? Also, the International Space Station, just like everything else brought to us by NASA, is a fake Freemasonic hoax, completely fabricated and done with special effects, models, pools, zero-G planes, and various other camera tricks.
How is circumnavigation possible on a flat Earth?
Very easily. You can travel east and west directions to ultimately end up right back where you started. The face of the Earth looks similar to that of a clock. In fact, clocks were most likely designed after the true appearance of our world. If you follow a compass east for long enough, you'll make a full circuit. Same thing if you travel west long enough. As we've already gone over, the flat Earth map that was around before globes were easily converts to a globe, so everything you believe you are doing on a globe is actually taking place on a flat Earth.
How come the moon is upside down in the southern hemisphere?
This is another very simple explanation. When somebody is in the northern part of the Earth, or on the northern part of the Earth, they see the moon from this angle. When somebody is on the southern part of the Earth, the moon looks like this. They're looking at it from this angle. They see it from the opposite angle, and that's all it is. Imagine you tape a picture of the moon in the center of your living room, right? Depending on where you are in the room, the moon will be seen differently. When pondering this question, keep in mind that the face of the moon never changes. On a spherical Earth, we'd expect to see other sides, but we never have.
What about the seasons?
The sun is close and small, and it circles around and above the flat Earth in a spiral pattern on the Tropic of Cancer in the northern summer months, and then down in the Tropic of Capricorn in the northern winter months. So when the sun is further away from the North Pole, right, the center of the flat Earth, it's winter in the north and summer in the south. Since the sun is smaller than we are told and closer, it makes much more sense that we experience seasons in the first place. If the sun was 93 million miles away and had a radius of over 400,000 miles, we would hardly experience temperature fluctuation as we do.
What about gravity?
Gravity is necessary in order for a spinning ball Earth to work. People readily believe that you can't fall off of a spinning ball that's darting through outer space at speeds that you can't even comprehend, yet they will deny how much easier it is to stay on a flat surface that doesn't move. Gravity is a scapegoat for all that cannot be explained, and it has never been proven. The reason why things fall or float is because of density and buoyancy. If something is heavier than air, it falls. If it's lighter than air, it floats. Very straightforward. Your phone is denser than the air, therefore it falls when you drop it. Everything works because of density. No need to factor in imaginary components. Quote, "The law of gravitation is said by the advocates of the Newtonian system of astronomy to be the greatest discovery of science, and the foundation of the whole of modern astronomy. If, therefore, it can be shown that gravitation is a pure assumption, and an imagination of the mind only, that it has no existence outside of the brains of its expounders and advocates, the whole of the hypotheses of this modern so-called science fall to the ground as flat as the surface of the ocean, and this most exact of all sciences, this wonderful feat of the intellect, becomes at once the most ridiculous superstition and the most gigantic imposture to which ignorance and credulity could ever be exposed." Thomas Winship, Zetetic Cosmogony.
What about the Coriolis effect?
They say that the Coriolis effect is a result of the Earth spinning and is responsible for the deflection of an object moving above the Earth, rightward in the northern hemisphere and leftward in the southern hemisphere. The problem is that things like hurricanes and water in the sink aren't always predictable and have been known to spin both ways in either hemisphere. Also, another contradiction that proves the Coriolis effect false is the fact that no flying machine above the Earth has to account for it. If a bullet that travels 1,700 miles per hour has to account for the effect, then an airplane traveling at 550 miles per hour would definitely have to account for the effect. When you look for the answer, you'll find that we are told that since the atmosphere moves with the spin of the Earth, planes aren't affected. So why would bullets be? Especially when they go much faster than common airplanes.
Why can't I see infinitely far?
This is for the people that wonder why they can't see certain things that they believe they should be able to see if the Earth was flat. I've been asked on numerous occasions, why can't I see Mount Everest from anywhere on Earth? I've also been asked, why can't I see Spain from the east coast of America? Well, besides dirt, dust, dew, rain, fog, smog, smoke, clouds, mist, haze, snow, etc., your vision is limited by the vanishing point of your perception. Check your weather app on your phone and notice the visibility in your area.
Is the flat Earth a religious thing?
Yes and no. I say this because I myself am not religious. I'd rather not have faith in something, but know the facts to the best of my ability. And the facts are that the curvature and motion of the Earth have never been proven. The Bible, without any doubt whatsoever, supports the Earth that's fixed in place. The Book of Enoch, which is biblically endorsed and most likely belongs in the Bible, describes the flat stationary enclosed Earth in great detail. Many religions and civilizations preceding Judaism and Christianity support a flat and stationary Earth, such as the Babylonians, the Egyptians, the Mayans, the Norse, the Hindus, etc. This fantastic spinning globe Earth is very new to the people of the world, yet most of us carry on as if the theory is unquestionable, and we've been conditioned to laugh when the flat Earth is brought up. Whether you are religious or not, you can see the flat Earth for yourself.
Is the Flat Earth Society behind the resurgence of the flat Earth?
No, the Flat Earth Society is designed as a containment unit. Gatekeepers that tell the truth about some stuff, but then lie about other things in order to make it appear ridiculous or steer you in the wrong direction. For instance, this is what FES has to say about gravity. In the Flat Earth model, gravity, rather than being a force, is the upward acceleration of the flat Earth. The Earth always accelerates upward at 1g, which is equivalent to the gravitational acceleration in the round Earth model. Like the force of gravity, the Earth's acceleration causes several commonly observed phenomena in our daily lives. If that isn't the biggest turnoff, I don't know what is. The flat Earth argument has never died. It only died down. Real flat earthers have always been among us, but it wasn't until late 2014, early 2015, when Eric Dubay started making a lot of noise about the flat Earth conspiracy and got people like myself on board. It took me 10 months of research before finally accepting the truth about where we live. Thanks to the many great flat Earth researchers, content creators, and activists since then, more and more people are waking up to the massive deception every day.
Are all scientists, pilots, and members of the government in on it?
No, most scientists, pilots, and members of the government have been indoctrinated just as the rest of us have. When they work at their everyday job, they go about it as if the Earth is most certainly spherical. If indeed some of these people did know the Earth is flat, they most likely wouldn't even speak out about it in fear of losing their job or ruining their reputation. The average scientist goes about everything they do with the spherical Earth already factored in. For mainstream science, questioning our current model is a huge no-no. For pilots, computers do most of their work, not to take away from what they do because I personally appreciate it, and also pilots often switch out at stops, making it difficult to understand the real layout of Earth's land masses. As far as government members and politicians go, besides high-ranking officials at NASA, which isn't government at all, it's safe to assume that they are not in the know and they are not knowingly perpetrating this lie. Very few people compared to the population of the world are enlightened to the flat Earth.
NASA isn't the only space agency. Are all others in on it too?
The answer is yes. Here's a short clip on what you need to know.
The Vector, NASA's official logo. If you've ever looked at NASA's official logo, both their official insignia and their official seal, you'll see that the most prominent object in the seal is a red swooshing object. They call that the chevron or the vector. If you ask NASA's Public Affairs Office, this symbology is featured so heavily in their insignia and seal, they'll give you what really amounts to the standard facile cover story for the unilluminated. They'll tell you that that is a representation of a hypersonic wing design from the 1950s, which was the time the logo was created. Not exactly the case. Someone might want to ask the Russian Federal Space Agency, Roscosmos, that was formed in 1992, why they chose that same logo. And while you're at it, you can go ask the Chinese, who formed their space agency in 1996, why in the world they're using a hypersonic wing design from the 1950s as their official logo. Then you can ask the Japanese, the South Koreans, Taiwanese, Malaysia, Mexico, Iran, all of these countries, even Bulgaria. They all utilize the vector symbology in their space agency logos for their national space agencies. It gets even deeper. You can go look at the individual manned program patches for NASA. The Mercury program, for example, a blatant use of covert symbology. In every logo dealing with the Mercury program, you'll see what looks like a number 7 in their logo. And again, NASA's official story is that they put this number 7 there so that they could pay homage to the original 7 Mercury astronauts. Kind of forgetting the fact that only 6 Mercury astronauts actually flew into space, because number 7 never did. Deke Slayton had a heart problem, so he didn't get to go up. So there were only 6 Mercury astronauts, yet there's a 7 in every single logo. That's in the official mission or official program insignia for Mercury, as well as the 6 individual mission patches carry this logo. And it carries on to the Space Shuttle program. If you look at the Apollo logo has a big letter A in it. At least that's what they want you to believe, but it's not. Again, that's just a simple way of explaining away the inclusion of this vector symbology in the logo. If you go to the Space Shuttle program, the original Space Shuttle STS program patch is a triangular patch that, again, hides the use of the chevronic vector symbology. And that also goes for many of the STS-specific mission patches. Every single one of the International Space Station expedition patches carry the vector symbology. The Russian Mir space station used the vector symbology. That was their official logo. And you can even go deeper and look at military-industrial complex companies. Look at the logo on a company like Lockheed Martin, 2 vectors. The X-Prize logo, Ames Research Labs, U.S. Space Command. When you get into the military realm, the United States Space Command, their official logo is the vector symbol. And when you look at the military's individual space-specific programs, all of them deal with vector symbology in their official insignias. And the question really becomes, who or what are these people paying homage to?
Let's look at NASA's Earthrise. Now let's look at JAXA's Earthrise. Do you believe this is real?
Well then, who's responsible for this deception?
You will find that the Jesuits and the Vatican have been intimately involved in all things space, including owning the earliest telescopes and, to this day, the largest owners of observatories and telescopes in the world. The Society of Jesuits have been actively spreading the heliocentric theory for 500 years while trying to bury thousands of years of flat Earth cosmology. The Jesuits are rulers of all powers that we are aware of, and have been ruthless in their pursuit of world domination for centuries, no matter who is killed or what has to be done to establish a one-world order out of chaos. They rule over, or are deeply partnered with, people like the Rothschilds and many other international banksters, secret societies, especially the Freemasons, as well as Zionist Jews, and especially Zionist Jews in seats of power. They rule over all the alphabet agencies and government think tanks, including the NSA, CIA, FBI, Mossad, KGB, Roundtable, Committee of 300, Tavistock Institute, Lucius Trust Publishing, Bilderberg Group, and the Council of Foreign Relations, including representative government and legislation like the US Presidency, Congress, and the Supreme Court. The Jesuit order is said to have been established by Jews, again showing that the Jews are behind some of the biggest hoaxes in history, including the Holocaust. Freemasons are also spread out all over the world to further the different agendas that serve this Illuminati elite.
Why the lie?
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying? Oh my god. Stop fucking lying. Always lying to me. You lying so much. You making it hard for me.
Their desire is to convince us that we are only one of a septillion other planets flying through infinite space. A septillion? Where do they get these numbers? A septillion has 24 zeros. They want us to think that we are nothing more than a cosmic accident caused by a big bang that took place 14 billion years ago. Again, where do they get these numbers? How one could draw that conclusion is unknown. They want us not to understand our origin and go on believing that life is meaningless. They want us to believe that alien life is real and that they created us. Look no further than Ancient Aliens for the propaganda. Not to mention countless shows and movies they program us with. This isn't just about flat Earth versus round Earth, it's much bigger than that. Whatever they plan on doing needed the spherical Earth groundwork laid before they could proceed. They may either shock us with a fake alien invasion, or a disclosure of the beings that have always been among us, passed off as life from distant galaxies. Who knows? Another reason to turn the Earth into a ball is to hide extra land. If this is a vast plain, and there are places past Antarctica, with more oceans and more land masses, then an easy way to get rid of them is to wrap our part of this plain around a ball, and make it seem as if there is nothing else and everything has already been discovered. The globe is full-fledged slavery for the inquiring mind.
I'd like to be an explorer, like the great Magellan.
Oh, you're too late. There's really nothing left to explore.
What does it mean if the Earth is flat?
It means that the origin of man is deliberately being covered up from us. Man, woman, child, you are being deceived on a massive scale. Flat Earth, enclosed flat Earth, expansive plane flat Earth, or even infinite plane flat Earth with an infinite ceiling barrier, or possibly another plane of existence above us and below us. It means that this place was created, that you were designed, you were crafted, you are special and with purpose. A purpose being hidden from you on purpose. We are supposed to know our world and our reason for being. We've been swallowed whole by this economic fiat money system that controls absolutely everything and fuels this manufactured reality. Most of us know that we are slaves, And it's no wonder we desire to escape through movies, TV shows, and video games that happen to also further our programming and mental conditioning. We were never meant to live like this, and knowledge of our flat earth is a step in the right direction. It's something that can't be taken from us. It's the fuel that we need to let these bastards know that we won't go down in ignorance. We will not willingly accept their one world authority that wants to rule over all mind and all matter. Embrace this flat world of ours and free your mind from the globalist mind control. It's time that we stand up for ourselves and our beautiful earth. All I want to know is, who's coming with me?
Boom.
Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement. Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement. Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement. Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement.
Have you ever dreamed of going up to outer space? Or maybe meeting other beings from another place? Have you ever wondered what it's like on other planets? Then you watch a science show and come to believe you understand it? You feel empowered by the knowledge and you feel enlightened, listening to Bill Nye and Neil deGrasse Tyson. But then you wake up and you start to see the obvious. Life is just a lie and this whole world ain't what we thought it was. NASA's missions to the moon were never completed. They just filmed them in a room and people believe it. I used to wonder what it's like to be an astronaut. Now when I see them acting, I can't help but to laugh a lot. They give us cartoons and they claim that we live on a ball, but it's flat and it's not moving or spinning at all. Why you lying to us, man? That's something that we want to know. After that, you're gonna have to pack up all your stuff and go.
Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement. Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement. Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement. Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement.
History has been rewritten by winners of wars, the Jesuit order, Khazars, Freemasons, and more. They pulled the veil over our eyes and it's time to awaken. Through organized indoctrination, our minds have been taken. It's time we take our power back and we rescue our people. The Vatican and the bankers are like Resident Evil. They may have had the greatest plan that was ever concocted, but Illuminati never thought that they'd ever be spotted. They're manufacturing reality all in our heads. They tell us if the earth is flat then we'll fall off the edge, but if it is a spinning ball we won't fall off it then. And gravity is our imaginary magic friend. Why is water always flat when unmanipulated? Why are pictures of the earth computer generated? Why you lying to us, man? That's something that we want to know. After that, you're gonna have to pack up all your stuff and go.
Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement. Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement. Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement. Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement. Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement. Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement. Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement. Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement.
Dear NASA, it's becoming 100% crystal clear that you and the other space programs that are in operation are connected and are deceiving the entire world. More and more people are waking up every single day, and we are now able to see right through you. But what we really want to know is, why are you lying? Sincerely, me and the great people of this earth.
Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement.
The captain thinks the world is round, see? But we all know it's a flat, right?
Of course it's flat. Sure, I know the world is flat.
Well, so do I. Everybody knows that.
In the 1980s, President Ronald Reagan gave a series of speeches basically saying that people of the Earth would unite if faced by an out-of-this-world alien threat.
I couldn't help but say to him, just think how easy his task and mine might be in these meetings that we held if suddenly there was a threat to this world from some other species, from another planet, outside in the universe. We'd forget all the little local differences that we have between our countries, and we would find out once and for all that we really are all human beings here on this earth together.
In our obsession with antagonisms of the moment, we often forget how much unites all the members of humanity. Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
At the time, nobody knew exactly what he meant, but they thought that he meant well. It wasn't until the 1990s when George H.W. Bush started to push the New World Order to the public that people began to understand the unity that Ronald Reagan spoke about.
Out of these troubled times, our fifth objective, a new world order, can emerge.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order.
It is a big idea, a new world order. Such is a world worthy of our children's future. A world in which there is the very real prospect of a new world order. And that's why I wanted to speak to you today about the new world taking shape around us, about the prospects for a new world order now within our reach. I'll be talking in some detail about the possibility of a new world order, the quest for the new world order. New world order. The new world order really is a tool for addressing a new world of possibilities.
It wasn't exactly the kind of unity that would benefit the masses, but the elite, as they would have us united under the control of a one-world government, a one-world religion, a one-world everything. So we have a solid connection between the New World Order and an alien invasion, especially since George H.W. Bush was vice president to Reagan and his successor. It even goes in order: alien invasion, New World Order; alien invasion, New World Order.
If suddenly there was a threat to this world from some other species, from another planet, outside in the universe.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order.
Perhaps we need some outside universal threat.
It is a big idea, a new world order.
Let's fast forward to more recent events where we are seeing the alien agenda escalate more than ever. 2014, Bill Clinton talks about aliens on Jimmy Kimmel.
Take a quick break. But when we come back, I hope you will indulge me in something, because I want to ask you about your access to the files on the UFOs. Okay? President Clinton is here with us. We'll be right back. President Bill Clinton is here with us. So if I was president, and I won't be, let's be honest, the first thing I would do after putting my hand on that Bible and taking that oath to serve the country is I wouldn't even probably finish the oath. I would run to the White House. I demand to see all the classified files on the UFOs. Because I want to know. I'd want to know what has been going on. Did you do that?
Sort of.
Sort of.
Yeah, we had, I think it was at the beginning of my second term, we had the anniversary of Roswell.
You waited that long?
I did.
Wow.
Well, I didn't. And then there's also Area 51. You remember there was a great sci-fi movie where there was an alien kept deep under the ground in Area 51? So first I had people go look at the records on Area 51 to make sure there was no alien down there. And people thought that because everybody who works there has to stop about an hour away and put on special clothing and then drive in and out. And that's because a lot of our stealth technology is made there. We know that now, but there are no aliens there. So then when the Roswell thing came up, I knew we'd get, gazillions of letters. So I had all the Roswell papers reviewed, everything. Well, I think, look, what do we know? We know now we live in an ever-expanding universe. We know that there are billions of stars and planets literally out there, and the universe is getting bigger. We know from our fancy telescopes that just in the last 2 years, more than 20 planets have been identified outside our solar system that seem to be far enough away from their suns and dense enough that they might be able to support some form of life. So it makes it increasingly less likely that they might be able to support some form of life. So it makes it increasingly less likely that we're alone.
Oh, you're trying to give me a hint that there are aliens.
No, I'm trying to tell you I don't know.
Oh, you're trying to give me a hint that there are aliens.
No, I'm trying to tell you I don't know.
Oh.
But if we were visited someday, I wouldn't be surprised. I just hope that it's not like Independence Day.
Yeah, right.
That it's a conflict.
Well, now we have friendly
Maybe the only way to unite this incredibly divided world of ours. They're out there. We better think of how all the differences among people on Earth would seem small if we felt threatened by a space invader. That's the whole theory of independence.
You're right. You're right.
Everybody gets together and makes nice and,
Perhaps we need some outside universal threat.
2015, Barack Obama talks about aliens on Jimmy Kimmel.
This is something I feel like, if I was the president, and it's unlikely that that is ever going to happen.
You never know.
If I was the president...
It was unlikely that I was going to be president.
The moment I was inaugurated, my hand would it'd still be hot from touching the Bible, and I would immediately race to wherever they have the files about Area 51 and the UFOs, and I'd go through everything to find out what happened.
Right.
Did you do that?
That's why you will not be president. Because that's the first thing that you would do.
The
aliens won't let it happen. You reveal all their secrets. They exercise strict control over us.
Now, there are a lot of people that are going to examine your facial expressions here, every twitch, everything, and say, and of course, so did you look? Did you see? Did you explore?
I can't reveal anything.
Oh, really? Because President Clinton said he did go right in, and he did check, and there was nothing.
Well, that's what we're instructed to say.
All right.
2016, Hillary Clinton talks about aliens on Jimmy Kimmel.
When we had your husband, President Clinton, on this show, he said, I asked him about UFOs and Area 51, and if he looked in, because if I was president, that's the first thing I do. I go right into those files and see what was going on.
Right.
And he said that he did do that.
Yes.
And that he didn't find anything.
Well, I'm gonna do it again.
Yeah, why not?
Right? And there's a new name. It's unexplained aerial phenomenon.
Unexplained aerial phenomenon,
Yep,
really?
Yep, UAP. That's the latest nomenclature.
I like the old one. I like UFO. I don't know why.
Well, I think we can use them interchangeably, but I would like us to go into those files and hopefully make as much of that public as possible. If there's nothing there, let's tell people there's nothing there.
What if there is something there?
Well, if there is something there, unless it's a threat to national security, I think we ought to share it with the public.
Well, what if everybody's all hopped up on medical marijuana and everybody gets paranoid? I would love it.
That's why I want more research.
if you share it with me, I'll decide what is the best course of action. I really have my ear to the ground.
Well, you know, I'm more than happy to do that.
In my line of work, you got to keep repeating things over and over and over again for the truth to sink in, to kind of catapult the propaganda.
So you see, what used to pass for a tinfoil hat theory is now being pushed by the mainstream and accepted on a wide scale. In fact, the popular theoretical physicist Michio Kaku seems to be a pawn for programming the masses with the belief in aliens.
A crisis of leadership. We've been talking about this all week. But what if there was some sort of outer space crisis? An alien invasion sounds crazy, perhaps, but then who thought we'd ever see the stock market swing 5% a day all week long? So maybe it's not as far-fetched as it sounds. If aliens invaded, who would step up to lead us in that fight, and could we even win? That's just one of the questions the Discovery Channel's new series, Curiosity, looks at. Joining me now is physics professor Michio Kaku, who is a consultant for the series. Professor, welcome. The biggest question before we get any invasion is, do aliens even exist, and how would we know?
Well, the Kepler satellite currently orbiting in outer space has identified about 50 planets that seem very much Earth-like. In fact, every week we discover another Jupiter-sized planet in outer space. Now, to be sure, most of them probably have no more than microbial life, just germs. But a few of them may have intelligent life, perhaps even more advanced than what we have on Earth.
Now, so how does this actually work? When Discovery decided they were going to do a show on alien invasions, your phone rings because you're on the sort of speed dial for theoretical physicists who can help them do the war game for how this might play out?
Well, believe it or not, we physicists have actually studied the question of what happens if we do encounter a hostile advanced civilization in space. Open your mind to the possibility that one day we will make contact with an intelligent civilization in outer space that could be thousands, millions of years ahead of us in technology. The Kepler satellite has identified 2,000 planets orbiting other star systems. So tonight, when you look at the night sky, realize that somebody could be looking back at you. Now, if there is a life form out there, they could be literally millions of years ahead of us. The universe is 13.7 billion years old, so a million years is nothing compared to the age of the universe. I mean, we have nothing to offer them.
Are we going to get answers in our lifetime about this?
Well, next we're going to focus our radio telescope to see whether we can eavesdrop on their I Love Lucy. Maybe they too have, you know, Leave It to Beaver and TV shows like that. So we're going to focus our radio efforts now on this star to see whether there's any regular radio emissions from that planet.
Oh, it's so exciting. Michio, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, my pleasure.
The big question of, do you think there's intelligent life elsewhere out there? Do you think there is? And if there is, do you think it's visited us before?
Well, the big question is there intelligent life on the Earth? And I think not, by looking at the presidential debates. However, we have to look at the fact that just this week, NASA released the fact that 1,200 planets were discovered by the Kepler satellite just this past week.
We always learned in school that there were 9 planets if you wanted to include Pluto.
Yes, if you did or if you didn't want to. But with all the newfangled telescopes out there and in space, the discoveries seem to keep coming. So Linda Schmidt tells us about NASA's biggest haul yet.
NASA's Kepler Space Telescope has made a groundbreaking discovery: 1,284 new planets. This NASA animation shows that it is the single largest collection of planets that have ever been found.
I think it's really exciting to find that when you look up in the stars, at the stars at night, many of those stars have planets just like our solar system. And now we know that for sure.
And so we now know that perhaps there are 1 billion Earth-like planets in our backyard, the Milky Way galaxy. Go out tonight and have an existential shock, looking at the night sky, realizing that there are probably 1 billion planets that are Earth-like.
I think I only had to memorize 8 of them in school. I think I got off easy.
Right. And to think that we're the only game in town, I think, is kind of presumptuous.
But that question, though, the idea that there is intelligent life and it's been here, do you think we've been visited by extraterrestrial intelligent life?
First of all, I think they're out there, okay?
To kind of catapult the propaganda.
Whenever a mainstream scientist says anything about anything, there are millions upon millions of people willing to form their belief system around the statements of that scientist. So here we are in 2016, and when you look at any online poll as to whether aliens exist or not, the belief in aliens always wins by more than half. So we have passed the tipping point for critical mass, which perfectly sets the stage for a Project Bluebeam fake alien invasion. Even though what we call outer space is not what we think it is, and we have never been to the moon or past low Earth orbit for that matter, NASA admits this on numerous occasions while you're not even paying attention.
NASA's next spacecraft, already being built and tested across America, will do those things and more.
This is the spacecraft that's going to take humans to explore the solar system. It's the next big step for NASA in exploration.
Called the Orion Multipurpose Crew Vehicle, or MPCV, this next-generation spacecraft will enable America to explore beyond low Earth orbit.
As we get further away from Earth, we'll pass through the Van Allen belts, an area of dangerous radiation. But Orion has protection. Shielding will be put to the test as the vehicle cuts through the waves of radiation. Sensors aboard will record radiation levels for scientists to study. We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space.
The plan that NASA has is to build a rocket called SLS, which is a heavy lift rocket. It's something that is much bigger than what we have today, and it will be able to launch the Orion capsule with humans on board, as well as landers or other components to destinations beyond Earth orbit. Right now, we only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go. And this new system that we're building is going to allow us to go beyond and hopefully take humans into the solar system to explore. So the moon, Mars, asteroids, there's a lot of destinations that we could go to, and we're building these building block components in order to allow us to do that eventually.
So this leads me to flat Earth, and why, if we knew the Earth is flat and enclosed by an impenetrable barrier, Project Bluebeam would not work. If we all understood the truth about where we live, most likely the belief in aliens would be very rare. But since they lie to us and would have us believe that there are billions of galaxies and billions of other planets, the belief in intelligent extraterrestrial life becomes the norm. Not only that though, outer space and alien programming have been underway for quite some time. From a trip to the moon in 1901 to 10 Cloverfield Lane in 2016, the Tavistock Institute and Hollywood have been hard at work trying to introduce the masses to new ideas and manufacture our opinions. They've done a great job. We went from knowing that aliens don't exist to believing in aliens 100% without a shred of evidence. UFOs, on the other hand, are very real, unidentified flying objects. But all it is suppressed top-secret government and military technology. They will utilize these top-secret crafts to trick us into believing in an alien threat. They will also use holographic projections and something like the silent subliminal presentation system that can beam voices into our heads, which has already been patented for years now. Look it up. While you're at it, look at hologram technology that's already been used to show Michael Jackson on stage and even Tupac performing as well. One last note, pay attention to the timing of alien programming. For instance, Hillary talking about aliens on talk shows and promising to disclose classified information about extraterrestrials when in office, and the release of Independence Day 2. The timing of these things says a lot in itself. This has been ODD TV. Thanks for watching. NASA claims that we successfully landed man on the moon 6 times between 1969 and 1972. Here we are in 2016, and NASA constantly tells us that we can't go beyond low Earth orbit. Low Earth orbit is between 99 miles and 1,200 miles away. The moon is claimed to be 238,000 miles away. That's a big difference.
NASA's next spacecraft, already being built and tested across America, will do those things and more.
This is the spacecraft that's going to take humans to explore the solar system. It's the next big step for NASA in exploration.
Called the Orion Multipurpose Crew Vehicle, or MPCV, this next-generation spacecraft will enable America to explore beyond low Earth orbit. 2.
As we get further away from Earth, we'll pass through the Van Allen belts, an area of dangerous radiation. But Orion has protection. Shielding will be put to the test as the vehicle cuts through the waves of radiation. Sensors aboard will record radiation levels for scientists to study. We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space.
3.
Plan that NASA has is to build a rocket called SLS, which is a heavy lift rocket. It's something that is much bigger than what we have today, and it will be able to launch the Orion capsule with humans on board, as well as landers or other components to destinations beyond Earth orbit. Right now, we only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go, and this new system that we're building is going to allow us to go beyond and hopefully take humans into the solar system to explore. So the moon, Mars, asteroids, there's a lot of destinations that we could go to, and we're building these building block components in order to allow us to do that eventually.
4.
The kinds of technologies that we're testing out on Space Station are definitely helping us with our goals of going beyond low Earth orbit. So we have a really robust exploration program at NASA.
5.
And unlike the previous program, we are setting a course with specific and achievable milestones. Early in the next decade, a set of crewed flights will test and prove the systems required for exploration beyond low Earth orbit.
So how did we send humans to the moon 6 times so early on, but we can't figure it out in 2016? How was it so easy to go to the moon in 1969 using this flimsy lunar module? Even more interesting, who was already on the moon filming the arrival of the module? Was it the same person who stayed back on the moon and filmed the departure of the module?
Port stage pushed. Engine arm is out. Okay, I'm going to get the pro. 99, proceeded. 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Right away, Houston. Vector good. Ag side.
Just wondering. This is ODD TV. Thanks for watching.
Hi, my name is Dalton Spurlock, and my question is for Kate. Why is it not possible to physically land on or explore other planets?
Well, it is physically possible. We've sent humans to the moon. The United States has proven that we can actually land people and a large amount of equipment on another body.
Pluto is said to have been discovered in 1930. From 1930 to 2006, we have been taught that there are 9 planets in our so-called solar system. In 2006, Pluto was stripped of its planetary status, meaning since 2006, the International Astronomical Union officially recognizes 8 planets. Well, what if I told you that there are only 7 planets, including the Moon and the Sun, and not including Earth? What if I told you that this deception has been hidden right under our noses all along? Let's have a look at our calendar week. Sunday equals, you guessed it, Sunday. Monday equals Moon Day. Tuesday equals Mars Day. Wednesday equals Mercury Day. Thursday equals Jupiter Day. Friday equals Venus Day. Saturday equals Saturn Day. These are the original 7 planets encoded in our weekdays. Let's have a look at the etymology of planet. It tells you how basically the planets are wandering stars, and if you look down here on the bottom, it says, so called because they have apparent motion, unlike the fixed stars. Originally included also the Moon and Sun. The ancient Greeks considered the planets to be wandering stars. Their chart has Earth, which wasn't considered a planet, in the center, with the 7 planets circuiting around it in the following order: Moon, Mercury, Venus, Sun, Mars, Jupiter, and then Saturn in the outermost ring. If you look 1 ring past Saturn, you'll see the firmament, also known as the crystalline heaven, which contains all the stars. Here's an Egyptian system with the same 7 planets going around Earth. In Aleister Crowley's book, 777, he repeatedly wrote about the 7 planets, including the Sun and Moon, constantly connecting them with 7 alchemical metals and 7 days of the week. If you look at the Sefer Yetzirah, the Book of Creation, which is the oldest known Kabbalistic text, it has tons of references to 7. Kinda like the Bible, some parts of the Bible anyway. 7 archangels, 7 seals, and if you look at chapter 4, verse 7, it says, 7 planets in the universe: Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon. 7 days in the year, the 7 days of the week, 7 gates in the souls, male and female, 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, and a mouth. In chapter 4, verse 15, it says 7 universes, 7 lands, 7 seas, 7 rivers, 7 deserts, 7 days, 7 weeks, 7 years, 7 sabbaticals, 7 jubilees, and the holy palace. Therefore he made 7s, beloved under all the heavens. Chapter 4 in this book is mostly about the number 7, and in this particular version of the Sefer Yetzirah that I'll be linking in the description, on page 187, it goes on explaining the 7 firmaments, the 7 earths, meaning 7 continents, and so on. I found that interesting. 33rd degree Freemason Manly P. Hall wrote quite a bit about the 7 planets in his most famous book entitled The Secret Teachings of All Ages. I'll read you a couple things. The 7 wonders of the world, while apparently designed for diverse reasons, were actually monuments erected to perpetuate the arcana of the mysteries. They were symbolic structures placed in peculiar spots, and the real purpose of their erection can be sensed only by the initiated. Eliphas Levi has noted the marked correspondence between these 7 wonders and the 7 planets. The 7 wonders of the world were built by widows' sons in honor of the 7 planetary genii. Their secret symbolism is identical with that of the 7 seals of Revelation and the 7 churches of Asia. Pythagoras, according to some authorities, divided the universe into 9 parts, according to others, into 12 parts. The 12-fold system was as follows. The first division was called the Empyrean, or the sphere of the fixed stars, and was the dwelling place of the immortals. The second to 12th divisions were, in order, the spheres of Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, the Sun, Venus, Mercury, and the Moon, and fire, air, water, and earth. This arrangement of the 7 planets, the Sun and Moon being regarded as planets in the old astronomy, is identical with the candlestick symbolism of the Jews. The Sun in the center as the main stem, with 3 planets on either side of it. And that's just a couple of examples about the 7 planets in Manly P. Hall's The Secret Teachings of All Ages. Another aspect of this 7 planets idea for me was looking at a couple articles about how Uranus isn't a planet and about how Neptune shouldn't be considered if Pluto isn't. This gives a bit more credence to my line of thinking, but I'll admit that this is all just personal speculation on the subject. Since I've been able to see the flat Earth as the truth, I've also come to understand that Earth was never meant to be considered a planet. In fact, it's a planate, which means plane or flat surface. Earth wasn't considered a planet until the 16th or 17th century, so it's all fairly new. Whether Uranus, Neptune, or even Pluto are actually planets or not doesn't really matter. The thing is that Earth is not a planet. We don't live on a wandering star. We live on Earth, which is nothing more than land, because the water is not included in the word Earth. What we witness above us in the night skies are the planets, the wandering stars, the luminaries, moving about while the stars move uniformly in circuits, contrary to the wandering stars. When this information presented itself to me, I felt compelled to touch on the subject. So, thanks for watching. Until next time.
The stars will not fall.
Oh, really?
No, because they're fixed to the lid of the chest. The lid will open in 2 halves and then Jesus will appear. What chest are you talking about? Don't you know that the universe is a gigantic chest? Heaven is the lid on top, and the earth the ground below. They haven't told this fool that the earth is round. The earth is flat.
Your head is flat.
Read the scriptures. If the earth is round, why don't the people at the bottom fall off? Huh? And what about the ones on the sides? Why don't they slide off? Think about that.
Davis knows. Hey, brother, what do you say? Is the earth flat or round?
Only God knows those things.
ODD TV.
All I'm offering is the truth. Hey everybody, what's going on? This is ODD. I want to address the insane amount of people that don't seem to understand how fisheye lenses or wide-angle lenses work. As a flat earther that makes videos on the subject, I consistently have people send me links to videos where they believe they are seeing the curvature of the Earth. But what they are actually seeing is a forced curve due to the lens of the camera. These lenses are called fisheye or wide-angle lenses, and they come standard on GoPro and TomTom cameras. In fact, all action cameras come standard with these lenses. The definition of a fisheye lens is an ultra-wide-angle lens that produces strong visual distortion to create a wide, panoramic, or hemispherical image.
When this lens is arranged sort of straight on to the horizon, it actually it doesn't have any weird curvature or distortion. It just looks ultra wide. There might be a little bit of distortion on the edges, but it looks just super wide. Whenever you start to tilt it upwards or downwards, that's where you get the curvature distortion. So if you tilt the lens upwards in relationship to the horizon, it's going to kind of curve up and create a bowl type effect. If you tilt it downward, it's going to create a sphere or a kind of an orb type effect.
Besides Hollywood movies and TV shows, these wide-angle camera lenses are the only reason you'll ever witness curvature. It's the very reason why most people believe they have seen curvature. People send me links to endless amounts of videos shot with GoPros. This skydiving video, for instance. False curve. Here's a video from a balloon that was launched by a high school in South Carolina. Doesn't that seem like a bit much to you? Because at 120,000 plus feet, there is no curvature when you use a normal lens that's not distorted whatsoever. Another go-to video for people looking for curvature is the Felix Baumgartner Red Bull jump from 2012. People really believe that they are seeing a genuine curve here, but it's simply a fisheye lens. Otherwise, New Mexico takes up most of the planet. Wake up, ladies and gentlemen. They say Felix jumped from 126,000 feet, and this is how much curve there is. But again, look at footage from 121,000 feet on a camera without distortion, and you'll see the world how it really is. Curveless. Thanks for watching.
Dude, you're fucking retarded. Kill yourself and make sure you never reproduce, bro. Okay?
As far as the eye can see, the earth is flat.
Here in the West, we're living in the best bonanza. If anyone fights any one of us, he's gonna fight with me.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is ODD. Today is Wednesday, September 28th, 2016. Today I want to read you guys some of the comments that I get from people on my Flat Earth videos after I release them. Every time I put a Flat Earth video out, I get a bunch of really smart people that come over to my channel and they basically correct me, put me in my place, and let me know exactly why I should never think for myself. So let's get started. This should be fun. This video is the largest piece of idiotic shit in the universe. The level of ignorance of reality and lack of understanding of science, gravity, light, water, and well, everything is so complete. This is to say your ignorance is complete. What a farcical piece of shit. Moron. How can anybody argue with that, man? That was perfect. That was on point. You must be as retarded as Caitlyn Jenner. If you believe this shit, you deserve to be an idiot. 8 words. You are a fucking chode Muppet cockstain. Have y'all seen a pic from NASA? Laugh my ass off. This shit is retarded as a motherfucker. The earth is still round, not flat. If you believe it's flat, it's not your fault. You're just short of Down syndrome. Blame your parents. They're likely just as stupid as you. Not all of us are blessed with good education in mind. Says the guy who loves being told when to eat, sleep, and shit.
You little scumbag! I got your name! I got your ass! You will not laugh! You will not cry! You will learn by the numbers! I will teach you! Now get up! Get on your feet!
Your stupidity is insulting my intelligence. You're a fucking moron. You spent 2 years on this? Kill yourself. We as a species don't need you. If the earth is flat, how is there night and day? Also, how can you fucking travel around the world? If you believe this shit, then you're fucking stupid. The flat earth in 2 words. Fucking ridiculous. Flat earth people equals fucking stupid morons without brain. I can feel my brain cells dying. I think they were already dead. Wow, there are some really fucking stupid people if this shit actually has support. You're fucking dumb. This video is totally dumb. You're an idiot. Stupid. LOL. Carry on. All planets are round, like your head. LOL. The moon is round. Retards. ODD, stop spewing nonsense. It's obvious that the earth is the shape of a giant dick which already destroyed your gaping butthole. OMFG. LMFAO. I hope this dude dies. Honestly, he has Down syndrome. Oh wait, people with Down syndrome understand the fucking world. I used to think Christians were ignorant for having no proof of God, but this guy take the mither fucking cake. I swear, bro, I'm leaving this corner of YouTube and never coming back. Thanks, man. Get back over there to PewDiePie and Jenna Marbles, man. That'd be great. You should be killed. You're such a fucking fool. Goddamn, please kill yourself and stop spreading these false claims, fucking idiot. Kill yourself, faggot. Are you retarded? How are you still alive? A new level of stupidity. Flat earthers are so fucking retarded it makes me angry. It blows my mind that these people exist. If I personally knew a person like this, I would ridicule incessantly. Ridicule. Are you retarded? Are you retarded? You are fucking retarded. Holy fuck, this is beyond retarded. This shit is beyond retarded. Please, 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 don't reproduce. Fucking retard. I hope you don't reproduce. What a ninny-brained fucktard. You are a dumb fuck. Now go drink bleach. Hey, boo! We got any bleach? I'm going to pray, and I won't stop until my prayers are answered and your fucking sideshow redneck ass is hit by a bus. We need a holocaust for flat earthers. If I see one more flat earth video, I'm going on a killing spree. Are people really this stupid? It's obvious the earth is a spinning sphere. If it wasn't, the scientists would tell us. Now go slap your mom for raising such a fucking asshole. Gravity is not a theory. It never was a theory. Science fact since the beginning of time. Jump off a building and see, you stupid fucking flat earth fucktard idiotic moron. Fuck all of you. Alright, here's the last one I got for you guys. You gotta be fucking kidding me. Flat earth? This just fills me up with so much rage. I would love to stab every flat earther in the throat and watch them bleed out like the scum they are. Oh my God, this is worse than faggots or even niggers banging white girls. Alright, so that's it for the comments. Do you see the genius of these people? I mean, these are the innovative movers and shakers that are going to create our future. Are you scared yet? I am. Now let's go over a couple of TV shows that I recently found the Flat Earth references in. One of them is Bonanza, season 7, episode 6. The episode is entitled The Devil on Her Shoulders. So look it up if you want to watch the whole thing. I'm going to share a clip real quick, and then I'll let you know what I think about it.
Now, children, I think it's time we learned a little bit more about this Earth we live on. But first of all, we have to change our idea that the world is flat. In truth, it is round and shaped like a ball.
That's not what the Reverend told us, Miss Sarah.
Well, even the Reverend doesn't know everything. Now, children.
A little more half, brethren. It wouldn't hurt to say a prayer as we put our shoulders to it.
Evelyn, you listened to me before. Now maybe you will. There's something you must see.
Emma, I'll join you as soon as we get the wagon upright.
No. This is more important than any wagon. Come along.
Oh, all right, Emma. Remember, brethren, the right prayer can increase your strength tenfold.
Come along. If you start here and you go around long enough in the same direction, you wind up in the place you started from. Yes, Thomas?
Why don't we fall off when we walk underneath, Miss Sarah?
Because of a force called gravity.
What does gravity look like?
Gravity is something we can't see, but we know it's a great invisible force that keeps us all here on Earth. Some of you know what a magnet is, don't you?
I do.
I do. Well, then let's think of it like that. Gravity could be called a kind of magnet. It's a natural force that keeps us all from flying off into space.
We were always told that the world is flat.
You were told right. Don't listen to her. I've been patient with you, Sarah. Lord knows I've been patient. But now your words have revealed you.
The law of gravity was discovered by Sir Isaac Newton in 1687. That's almost 200 years ago, Uncle Evan.
But there is only one law. The law of God. If our divine maker had meant for us to walk upside down, he would have put feet on our hands. Children, listen to me. Look around you. All around you. As far as the eye can see, the Earth is flat. Now, you see it that way, because that is the way the Lord intended for it to be. Anything else is heresy.
So you see, they're connecting flat Earth belief to religious extremist cults that think people are witches and they want to burn them. I mean, this is out of control. This is the programming. This is the conditioning that we have all undergone. This is the conditioning that we are still undergoing. You know, we have been programmed to ridicule the flat Earth, our flat Earth, to think that it's ridiculous, to just mock it and be totally against it. I mean, did you hear some of those comments I read? People think that just because you believe something, you need to die. And how is my belief in the flat Earth affecting your life? Why? You don't have to watch the videos I put out, yet half of the people that watch my videos constantly are obsessed with them and they don't even believe in it. They're either trolls, they're paid to try to discredit the stuff I'm putting out, but whatever. So that's what Bonanza did. Their programmers, they perfectly came with the programming that conditions us to say, oh, you believe in the flat Earth? You must be a hardcore religious extremist that will kill people that don't share your beliefs, you know, so there's that. Now let's talk about another TV show that I found the flat Earth in, Dinosaurs. Who remembers Jim Henson's Dinosaurs? I used to watch this show every morning before school. And it's just funny to think about. being indoctrinated by the TV, a show about dinosaurs, when we all know now that dinosaurs, not all of us know, but we are all of us flat earthers are coming to the understanding that dinosaurs never existed. So it's like, whoa, now I'm thinking about watching a TV show about dinosaurs right before I go to the indoctrination center to get educated. It's not really education, it's pure indoctrination. Let me share with you this clip about the flat earth on dinosaurs.
I want each of you to come up with your own original idea. Something new and interesting about the world around you. Something no one ever thought of before.
I just need one good idea.
I've got a very good idea.
How did you get in here?
I've come to help you with your original idea. Okay, here it is. The world is round.
What?
You know how everybody believes the world is flat, like a pancake? Well, they're all wrong. The world is actually round, like an orange.
The world is an orange. And?
And? Well, that's it. It's a great idea. It's one of my best ones.
Yeah, but what kind of orange? Is it a navel or a juicer? What?
Look, just sleep on it. In the morning, the idea will come to you again, and you won't even remember where you got it. Get it?
Got it.
Good. I must say, I really thought you'd catch on to this a little quicker, Copernicus.
What? My name's not Copernicus. I'm Charlene Sinclair.
You're not Copernicus? This isn't 16th century Poland? Oh boy, I screwed up. Charlene Sinclair was supposed to get a brownie recipe and I gotta go.
That's it. That's it. It's round.
Well, it's an orange.
No, the world. It's round. That's why ships at sea disappear over the horizon, and why the Earth's shadow on the moon is round during an eclipse. And so, our traditional view of the Earth as flat is wrong. And if that is wrong, then all our accepted views of our place in the solar system should also be questioned. Thank you. The end. 500 words exactly.
Miss Sinclair, I congratulate you. The world is round. This does my heart good. It's the kind of bold, original thinking a teacher seldom sees in the classroom.
Charlene Sinclair, you're under arrest for heresy.
Of course, there's probably a good reason for that.
Order in the court! Order! All right, present the next filthy evildoer, please.
Evildoer, Your Honor?
Oh, I did it again, didn't I? I mean the next defendant.
The state versus Charlene Sinclair. The charge is heresy.
Heresy?
Why, yes, Your Honor. This is the little girl who believes that the world is round, flying in the face of everything our society holds as sacred truth.
A round world? How appalling! Well, it's so unconventional. Guilty.
But, sir, we haven't had the trial yet.
Yet there are those among us who would require some proof that the world is flat. Fair enough. Let the record show that I now offer absolute and unimpeachable evidence. A guy in a lab coat. You are an engineer with lots of impressive degrees.
That is correct.
And you work at the We Say So Corporation.
That is also correct. The Classroom Globe Division.
And just what have you brought here to show us today?
Only this! And we have a warehouse full of these things. Proof enough for you, Missy? Huh?
Very impressive.
Obviously, if a company the size of We Say So throws the full weight of its corporate clout behind the concept of a flat Earth, who are we to question?
Well, I'm sold. Guilty.
So, you see, this was kind of similar to the Bonanza one if you watched the whole thing. So when Charlene comes out and says the Earth is round, everybody says that's heresy, you know, and they basically put her through court processes. You know, she has to, they're gonna judge her. So watch that episode too. It's called Charlene's Flat World. Dinosaurs, Charlene's Flat World. I don't know if that's online. I already had every single episode of Dinosaurs in one of my hard drives. So you could look that up. I'm not sure if you'll be able to find it. But you see, they're conditioning the hell out of us, man. Back then, now, every time you watch a movie by Universal and it comes in with the globe spinning and you're like, ooh, doo, doo, doo. You know, even Stinky Cash was like, you are being, you know, brainwashed. Every single movie you watch, no matter what it's about, you're being brainwashed. Because in the beginning, it comes in with a spinning globe. And it sets into your subconscious and you're like, it just becomes a part of you after a while. No, you don't have to give it any thought. The Earth is round. You see the round Earth image hundreds of times a day, if not thousands, on all sorts of different things. So it's pretty nuts, man. But I don't know. ODD is about to get up out of here. I don't have too much to say. I could sit here and talk for a while, but... So yeah, that's it for the day. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Siri, is the Earth a ball?
A ball? Heavens no. How could you live on a ball? That doesn't seem possible. The Earth is clearly flat.
So mainstream science tells us that the Earth formed 4.6 billion years ago, after a big bang that created the known universe. This wild theory is widely accepted as fact, and it's mechanically repeated by most people due to the fact that it's what public schools teach to the kids without challenge. There is absolutely no possible way to determine whether or not an event took place that long ago. It's actually very strange that anyone would believe this nonsense. Mainstream science also tells us that life on Earth evolved into monkeys, which eventually evolved into us. There's only one huge gaping problem with the theory of evolution. We are not only missing one link between monkeys and humans, but we are missing hundreds, if not thousands, of evolutionary links. Maybe more. They want us to believe that one day we fell out of a monkey's ass and we landed on a spinning ball that's advancing through outer space at ridiculous speeds. We are being deceived.
Let's put it in perspective. They think they came from monkeys, okay? I don't care how many letters they have after their name. You know, these guys go to school, they read books, they come out believing they came from monkeys, and then they have the audacity to say that we're the stupid ones. Listen to what they have to say.
In the beginning, there was darkness, and then bang, giving birth to an endless expanding existence of time, space, and matter. Every day, new discoveries are unlocking the mysterious, the mind-blowing, the deadly secrets of a place we call the universe.
It is, of course, a mystery as to why the universe exists in such an intelligible manner. But it suggests to me, at least, that there's a deep link between the universe, the grand scheme that's unfolding, and beings like ourselves. Somehow, the universe has become self-aware. It's engineered the emergence of comprehending, thinking beings like ourselves who can come to know the universe.
Some people marvel at the fact that the universe has, over billions of years, given birth to beings who can appreciate its complexity. We can even ponder where and how we fit in. But at the dawn of history, people thought they knew the answers to these profound questions.
The ancients viewed their world as a snow globe. It was essentially a flat Earth, say a disk, covered by a dome. And we call this in English a firmament. And in the firmament is where all the stars and the planets were hung.
Almost all ancient cultures believed universe existed in a dome similar to this.
Occurring phenomena around us, and this is science.
Since the Middle Ages, scientists have developed sophisticated new theories about the enormity of the universe and our place in it. Theories that often have no room for God.
Many phenomena have appeared mysterious or miraculous or magical. And then through the process of science, we've eventually understood